Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Nabanita Adhikari and with me is R.S. Raghu bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. Headlines. Multiple missiles hit key Ukrainian cities including Kiev in major escalation of conflict with Russia. President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, says Moscow to give harsh response to terrorist attacks. India says it stands ready to support all efforts aimed at immediate de-escalation of Ukraine conflict. Indian nationals advised to avoid all non-essential travel to and within Ukraine. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to leave for USA on Monday night to attend annual meetings of International Monetary Fund and World Bank. Malaysian Prime Minister dissolves Parliament, calls for snap polls. US-based economist Ben S. Bernanke, Douglas W. Diamond and Philip H. Dieberg awarded Nobel in Economic Sciences. And in women's cricket, India sealed spot in semi-final of T20 Asia Cup, beating Thailand by 9 wickets in Bangladesh. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday said that Kremlin would respond harshly to terrorist attacks, referring to the Kerch Bridge attack that took place on Saturday. Media reports said President Putin in a video message said Crimea Bridge blast is an act of terrorism and Ukraine's special forces are behind the bridge attack. He said if attacks continue against Russia, the response will be harsh. Moscow on Monday launched multiple missile strikes on Ukrainian cities, including Kiev, in retaliation to the weekend attack on a bridge linking the region of Crimea. Kremlin said a huge missile salvo across Ukraine launched by its forces was within the framework of what Russia calls its special military operation in Ukraine. 10 civilians were killed and 60 others injured in the missile strikes on Kiev this morning. A Russian missile also hit a building where the German consulate in Kiev is located. The German Foreign Ministry stated that the building housing the German consulate's visa office in Kiev was not in use since the conflict started. Meanwhile, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the Group of Seven, G7, will conduct an emergency meeting on Tuesday on the situation in Ukraine. The Ukrainian president also held talks with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on the issue. India today said that it is deeply concerned about the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine, including the deaths of civilians and targeting of infrastructure. In a statement, the External Affairs Ministry said India reiterates that escalation of hostilities is in no one's interest. It has urged the immediate cessation of hostilities and the urgent return to the path of diplomacy and dialogue. The ministry said India stands ready to support all such efforts aimed at de-escalation. India has consistently maintained since the beginning of the conflict that the global order is anchored in the principles of the UN Charter, international law, and respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states.
India today said that it is deeply concerned about the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine. Indian nationals have been advised to avoid all non-essential travel to and within Ukraine. The advisory has been issued by the Indian Embassy in Ukraine in view of the current escalation of hostilities in that country. It said that Indian nationals must strictly follow the safety and security guidelines issued by the Ukrainian government and local authorities. The embassy has also requested them to keep it informed about the status of their presence in Ukraine to enable the embassy to reach out to them when required. United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan will visit Russia on Tuesday to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Moscow. UAE's state news agency reported that UAE President will discuss with President Putin the friendly relations between the UAE and Russia, along with a number of regional and international issues and developments of common interest. The visit comes days after the Saudi-led OPEC oil cartel and its allies, including Russia, known as OPEC Plus, decided to cut oil output in a bid to raise prices despite appeals from the United States to increase production. Tuesday's Russia visit will be Sheikh Mohammed's third foreign trip since officially taking the reins as president following his brother's death in May.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday defended the India-Russia strategic and defense partnership, saying that Western countries did not supply weapons to India for decades. He said the West saw military dictatorship next to us as a preferred partner. Addressing a joint press conference with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong on Australia at Canberra, Dr. S. Jaishankar said the inventory of Soviet and Russian origin weapons grew for various reasons as the Western countries did not supply weapons to India for decades.
We have substantial inventory of Soviet and Russian origin weapons, and that inventory actually grew for a variety of reasons. The merits of the weapon systems themselves, but also because for multiple decades, Western countries did not supply weapons to India and in fact saw a military dictatorship next to us as the preferred partner. We all in international politics deal with what we have. We make judgments which are reflective of both our future interests as well as our current situation.
Dr. S. Jaishankar said in international politics, the country makes judgment as per the future interest and current situation. Speaking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the External Affairs Minister said India is against the conflict in Ukraine. He said India believes that this conflict does not serve the interest of anybody. He referred to Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Samarkand, where Mr. Modi had emphasized that this is not an era of war. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong also welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's concern on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Earlier on Monday, Dr. S. Jaishankar held the 13th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue with his Australian counterpart Penny Wong in Canberra. They took stock of the steady progress of India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, including important ministerial visits in recent months. Both ministers also discussed Economic and Technology Cooperation Agreement, ECTA progress, defense, counter-terrorism, mobility of talent and skills, education, double taxation avoidance, critical minerals, cyber, clean energy and sustainable development goals. Dr. Jaishankar and Ms. Wong also exchanged views on global and regional developments, recognizing the strong convergences and shared interests. They agreed to work closely together in Quad, trilaterals, G20, UN and other important forums.
World Mental Health Day was observed on Monday. The day is observed on 10th of October every year with the objective to raise awareness about mental health issues around the world and mobilizing efforts in support of mental health. The day provides an opportunity for all stakeholders working on mental health issues to talk about their work and create awareness against the social stigma. The theme for this year's World Mental Health Day is making mental health and well-being for all a global priority. Speaking with All India Radio News, Dr. Rajendra Kumar Dhamija, Director of the Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences, explained the significance of World Mental Health Day and emphasized why we all should prioritize our mental health as we are focusing on our physical health. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on World Mental Health Day 2022 by AIR Foreign Affairs Editor Dr. Atul Kumar Tiwari.
World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, not merely the absence of a disease or infirmity. While we take care of our physical ailments with alacrity, same does not hold good when it comes to our mental health, which is ignored quite often. According to WHO estimates, mental, neurological and substance use disorders comprise around 10% of global burden of disease and 25% of non-fatal disease burden. Around 1 in 7 world's adolescents have a mental disorder. Nearly 5% adult population across the globe suffer from depression. Around 1 in 9 people in conflict situations have moderate to severe forms of mental disorders. And the global economy loses nearly $1 trillion every year in productivity due to depression and anxiety. The World Mental Health Day, celebrated every year on 10th of October, is an occasion to raise awareness about mental health issues around the globe. The idea is to extend a helping hand to the efforts to counter the challenging situations which can result in depression, anxiety, restlessness, and in extreme cases to suicidal tendency at times. This year, the theme is Make Mental Health and Well-being for All a Global Priority. The emphasis is on tackling this issue related to the cause in a simple and sustained manner. It has become even more important with COVID-19 pandemic casting a shadow over our health systems, economies, and societies. Many people lost their lives or their livelihoods, while families and communities have been strained and separated. It has taken a toll on the learning and socializing among the children, youngsters, and the millennials. Businesses have suffered and millions of people have fallen below the poverty line. As people grapple with these health, social, and economic impacts, mental health has been widely affected. Many of us have become more anxious, but for some, COVID-19 has sparked or even amplified much more serious mental health problems. Several people reported psychological distress and symptoms of depression, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress. Sleep disturbances and disruption of sleep-awake cycle have been quite a common complaint. The ever-increasing dependence on digital media and social media platforms, obsession with personal hygiene, social distancing from friends and families have impacted in such a way that the mental health issues have shown a tendency towards becoming mental disorders. Well, it brings into focus a prompt action to improve the mental health of individuals and society at large. In addition, the promotion of mental well-being, prevention of mental disorders, protection of human rights, and care of people affected by mental disorders also assumes significance. World Mental Health Day is a reminder that we have to address these concerns. It also reminds those suffering that they are not alone and people and society is with them to help overcome these challenges. We are living in an era of hustle and bustle, away from near and dear ones, juggling through various tasks at a breakneck speed. Hence, there is an urgent need to reshape our working environments to promote and protect mental health. It calls for moderation in our approach and a healthy lifestyle with adequate physical activity, healthy and balanced diet, good sleep, relaxed life without stress, and spending quality time with family and friends. Technology is there too, with several apps such as Happify, Relief Link, Headspace, Mindshift CBT, Cognitive Brain Fitness, etc. These offer a solution and help improve cognitive thinking as well. Another requirement is to eliminate the stigma associated with the mental health. It will create an enabling environment where people understand these issues and come forward to address them in a concerted manner. These are the ingredients for a sound mental health and well-being, which should be a global priority for a healthy future.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will leave for USA on Monday night to attend annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. During her visit from the 11th to 16th of October, Mrs. Sitharaman will attend the G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meetings. She will also take part in bilateral meetings with several countries, including Japan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Bhutan, New Zealand, Egypt, Germany, Mauritius, UAE, Iran, and Netherlands. The meetings with leading business leaders and investors are aimed at highlighting India's policy priorities and deliberate on measures to facilitate foreign investment. Malaysian Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced that Parliament will be dissolved on Monday, paving the way for general elections that are expected to be held in early November. The elections come 9 months before Parliament's term expires. Following calls for early polls from Prime Minister Ismail's party, United Malays National Organisation, UMNO. UMNO, the biggest party in the ruling coalition, was feuding with its allies and is aiming for a big win on its own. In a televised announcement, Prime Minister said he met Sunday with King Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah, who consented to the dissolution. The Malaysian Prime Minister said he decided to call early polls to counter criticism over the legitimacy of his government, the third since 2018 polls. The Election Commission of Malaysia is expected to meet within the week to announce a date for the vote, which must be held within 60 days from Parliament's dissolution. In a statement issued by the palace, Sultan Abdullah expressed hope that the election will be held swiftly, as the year-end monsoon season that starts mid-November often brings devastating floods. The monarch, who left late Sunday for a visit to London, said he had no choice but to approve Ismail's request so people could vote for a stable government.
A complaint has been lodged against Nepal Prime Minister Sheikh Bahadur Deuba's candidacy from Dadel Dura, alleging that there is a difference between his date of birth in the citizenship documents and the electoral roll of the Election Commission. Deuba's rival Karna Malla on Monday registered the complaint with the Electoral Office, claiming the date of birth in the citizenship of Prime Minister Deuba and that the electoral roll registered with the Election Commission was different. Mr. Deuba, who is contesting the lower house election which is slated for November, had filed candidature on Sunday, sending his spouse cum First Lady Arju Deuba Rana on his behalf. The Electoral Commission said it plans to release the final list of candidates on Wednesday after completing the investigation and withdrawal of candidatures. This year's Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences has been awarded to the former chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Ben S. Bernanke, and two U.S.-based economists, Douglas W. Diamond and Philippe H. Dybvig, for research on banks and financial crises. The prize was announced on Monday by the Nobel panel at the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences in Stockholm. The committee said their work had shown in their research why avoiding bank collapses is vital. Nobel Prizes carry a cash award of 10 million Swedish kronor.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for crores of people across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of cinema, journey of Marathi, Bengali, Gujarati, Punjabi and Bhojpuri films.
Apart from the major film-producing states catering to languages like Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam and Kannada, film production also takes place in other languages like Marathi, Bengali, Gujarati, Punjabi and Bhojpuri. Marathi cinema happens parallel to the Hindi cinema from Mumbai. Stalwarts like Dada Saheb Phalke and V. Shantaram built the base for Marathi films which are known for their content values. Thespians like Dada Kondke, Nana Patekar, Amol Palekar, Smita Patil and such Satyajit Ray. The Apu trilogy of Ray won accolades at all the major international film festivals. Pather Panchali, the first part Buddhadev Dasgupta, Rituparna Ghosh and Aparna Sen took Bengali films to greater heights. Actors like Uttam Kumar and Utpal Dutt added caliber to Bengali films. Ever since its inception in the 1930s, Gujarati cinema industry has successfully produced over 1,000 Gujarati movies. Some of the movies in the current era have gathered international accolades. Upendra Trivedi was one of the most successful Gujarati actors and producers. Bhavani Bhavai, directed by Ketan Mehta, won the National Award for Best Feature Film on National Integration. The first Punjabi talkie film, Heer Ranjha, was released in 1932. Prominent actors like K.L. Sehgal, Prithvi Raj Kapoor, Dilip Kumar and Dev Anand, Dharmendra and singers such as Mohammad Rafi, Noor Jahan and Shamshad Begum enriched this film industry. The first Bhojpuri talkie film, Ganga Maiya Tohe Piari Chadhaibo, was released in 1963. The 80s saw the release of many notable as well as run-of-the-mill Bhojpuri films like Chandwa Ke Take Chakor, Ganga Kinare Moragaon and Sampurn Tirth Yatra. Bhojpuri movies are seen across various parts of North America, Europe and Asia, where second and third generation migrants still speak the language, as well as in Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, Fiji, Mauritius and South Africa. Ravi Kishan and Manoj Tiwari are the leading actors of Bhojpuri films.
The Sensex and the Nifty today logged modest losses. Both indices fell amid negative cues from the global share markets. The Sensex closed below the 58,000 mark, while the Nifty settled below 17,250 level. A report from the Business World.
The Sensex declined 200 points or 0.34% to finish at 57,991. The Nifty fell 74 points or 0.43% to end at 17,241. Asian shares slipped. Following U.S. stocks, which tumbled on Friday after data showed the unemployment rate declined last month. It sparked fears that the Federal Reserve would continue hiking rates aggressively. Hong Kong's Hang Seng tumbled 3% and China's Shanghai Composite Index plunged 1.7%. Singapore's Straits Times ended 1.2% down, Japan's Nikkei 225 declined 0.7% and South Korea's Kospi fell 0.2%. European markets were mixed in intraday trade. Crude oil prices fell, snapping winning streak of 5 straight days. Crude prices declined around 1% as investors looked to slowing economic activity in China, which revived concerns about a global recession and falling global fuel demand. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at around $97 per barrel. Back home, at Multi-Commodity Exchange for December contracts, gold was trading at 51,200 rupees per 10 grams, while silver was trading at 59,600 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee appreciated marginally by 1 paisa against the US dollar. The domestic unit closed at 82 rupees and 32 paisa against the US currency. Anubha Rohatgi for World News, All India Radio.
In women's cricket, India have assured a spot in the semi-finals of T20 Asia Cup after defeating Thailand by 9 wickets at Sylhet in Bangladesh to top the 7-team group league. Chasing a target of 38 runs, India lost Shafali Verma early, but Sabineni Meghna and Pooja Vastrakar remained unbeaten to take the team home with 9 wickets to spare. Earlier put into bat first, Thailand were bowled out for 37 runs in 15.1 overs. The emphatic win was India's 5th victory in 6 games, with the only defeat coming in a low-scoring match against arch-rivals Pakistan. India have 10 points from 6 games and are expected to be joined by Pakistan, Sri Lanka and one among Thailand and Bangladesh in the semi-finals. In the men's cricket, India will play against South Africa in the third and final ODI at Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi on Tuesday. The match will begin at 1:30 p.m. In the second match on Sunday, India beat South Africa by 7 wickets at Ranchi and leveled the 3-match series 1-1. In the first ODI at Lucknow, visitors beat India. Indian women's cricket team's inspirational skipper Harmanpreet Kaur and Pakistan wicketkeeper batter Mohammad Rizwan won the ICC Player of the Month award for September in women's and men's categories. Harmanpreet received the award for her memorable showing in the ODI series in England. The Indian skipper beat her deputy Smriti Mandhana and Bangladesh counterpart Nigar Sultana, who also came up with some stunning displays. Harmanpreet had a memorable month not just with the bat but also as a captain, leading India to a memorable 3-0 ODI series sweep over England. This was India's first series win in England since 1999. Among men, Rizwan defeated Indian left-arm spinner Aksar Patel and Australian all-rounder Cameron Green to claim the award. Rizwan was in stunning form in September, churning out some sizzling performances in T20s.
In football, the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup 2022 kicks off in India tomorrow. The Indian team begins its campaign against the United States of America in its Group A opener at the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar on Tuesday. Apart from the USA, India will also face Morocco and mighty Brazil in their following group matches on 14th and 17th of this month. India will play all their group matches at the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. Overall, 16 countries divided equally into 4 groups will vie for the quarter-final spots. The top 2 from each group will make the cut. Reigning champions Spain are placed in Group C, while 2014 champions Japan, who have also finished runners-up twice, are in Group D. North Korea, the most successful team at the event with 2 titles, will not be part of the biennial tournament. The semi-finals will be held at the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Margao, Goa, while the final will be played at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai on 30th of this month. Indian Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan on Monday met the Secretary General of FIFA, Fatma Samora, ahead of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. The discussion centered around collaboration with FIFA and UNESCO's Football for Schools program in schools across the country. In a joint press conference after the meeting, Dharmendra Pradhan said that the Football for Schools movement espouses the spirit of National Education Policy 2020 and promotes sports-integrated learning. He said it will boost the culture of sports in India and help in developing the skills of the students.
Heat waves will become so extreme in certain regions of the world within decades that human life there will be unsustainable. This was stated by the United Nations and the Red Cross in a joint report on Monday. The organization said heat waves are predicted to exceed human physiological and social limits in the Sahel, the Horn of Africa and South and Southwest Asia, with extreme events triggering large-scale suffering and loss of life. They warned in a joint report that heat waves catastrophes this year in countries like Somalia and Pakistan foreshadow a future with deadlier, more frequent and more intense heat-related humanitarian emergencies. The UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs (OCHA) and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies (IFRC) released the report in advance of next month's COP27 Climate Change Summit in Egypt. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. New York Times notes Russia's biggest missile assault in months targets multiple cities. The Guardian writes that North Korea says missile tests simulated striking South with tactical nuclear weapons. South China Morning Post reports China calls for de-escalation of war in Ukraine after Crimea bridge attack. The Japan Times says Empire of Steel where Japan's railways stand after 150 years of evolution. The Wall Street Journal writes that Taiwan's leader tells Beijing armed conflict is absolutely not an option.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Multiple missiles hit key Ukrainian cities, including Kiev, in major escalation of conflict with Russia. President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, says Moscow to give harsh response to terrorist attacks. India says it stands ready to support all efforts aimed at immediate de-escalation of Ukraine conflict. Indian nationals advised to avoid all non-essential travel to and within Ukraine. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to leave for USA on Monday night to attend annual meetings of International Monetary Fund and World Bank. Malaysian Prime Minister dissolves Parliament, calls for snap ports. US-based economist Ben S. Berkane, Douglas W. Diamond and Philip H. Dybvig awarded Nobel in Economic Sciences. And in women's cricket, India sealed spot in semi-final of T20 Asia Cup, beating Thailand by 9 wickets at Bangladesh. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Cambodia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.